Hey everyone, welcome back to Unfulfilled. I'm your host, Camille, and today I am joined with Nicole, the host of Wellness Members Club, her own podcast. And we're going to talk about some great things today that I know we can all relate to, specifically about well-being and mindfulness, very in line with both Unfulfilled and Wellness Members Club. We're going to dive into ways to practice being more still and more present in our busy lives, how to find that work-life balance, especially in our 20s when there's so much pressure on us and so many things we could or should be doing, and how to set ourselves up in night and in mornings for the day. So let's dive into this conversation. Hey, Nicole, welcome.
Thanks. Let's get into it. So do we want to start off with one thing at the Wellness Members Club? We start off all of our episodes with this. One thing that's going well, and then one thing that's going unwell about your week so far.
Okay, you start while I brainstorm.
Okay. So one thing, we'll start with the unwell. One thing that's going unwell is it's been super rainy. So I feel like that's just been making me extra tired this week, but really nothing to complain about. And what's going well is I've been going out of my comfort zone recently with just dipping my feet into new jobs and new opportunities. So I'm super excited with that because I just feel good doing that. And it's leading me closer to my purpose. So yeah, I feel really excited.
I love that.
How about you?
That's so awesome. Also, ditto on the rain. The weather very much impacts my mood. So I'll come up with another one so I won't duplicate yours. But unwell, very random. And again, like not a big deal. I just didn't have a great night's sleep the other night. And sometimes that just throws off my whole week. So it's a good thing we're going to talk about how to set ourselves up for the day in this episode. But that might be my unwell for the week because otherwise there hasn't really been anything unwell. So it's just, I picked something very minor. And what's going well this week, I teach yoga and I feel like I'm just like in a really good groove with teaching lately. I feel very connected to the students and I just feel like I'm really in a flow whenever I'm teaching. So that's just something that's gone really well recently, specifically this week.
Oh, I love that. How long have you been teaching yoga for?
I've been teaching yoga for a little over a year now. I got my certification during COVID, but then I started teaching last June.
Got it. So still fairly new. So it's nice.
Still
you got a
fairly new.
groove
And it's just
going.
one of those things that like you just get more and more confident speaking in front of an entire class and you just get better with time, like anything.
Yeah.
So, first topic we want to dive into, ways to practice stillness and being more present with our busy lives. I feel like this is especially relevant in New York City. I know you're not currently in New York City, but especially when you're in like a hustle bustle city where there's so much pressure on work, it's hard to feel like you can slow down. This is a really important conversation to have. What specific instances cause you to feel overwhelmed or make you feel like you're less present in life?
So instances that make me feel overwhelmed, I would say, is when I go days or sometimes even weeks without checking in with myself. And then I tend to procrastinate the things that I actually need to get done, or I just am ignoring things that I should be tackling head on. And I commute into the city. So no, I'm not in New York and I can get out and take that time to slow down, which I do that's what I like about living in New Jersey.
Yeah.
But I think just sitting with myself and slowing down, whether that's journaling, meditating, and I know we're going to get into like morning routines and nighttime routines, but that's when I really commit to checking in with myself, because if I don't do that, it's so easy to get swept up in life and just constantly be stressed and fight or flight. Like I feel like when I was younger, I was constantly in fight or flight, and I'm recently within this year, honestly, getting out of that and really being able to be present in my life. But yeah, that's what I do to slow down and check in with myself. But how about you?
Yeah, I totally agree. And the cool thing is it can just look like different things for everyone. Like turning inward and slowing down doesn't have to look like one thing. It doesn't have to be meditating. You know, you said journaling, that's a great one. Or even going on a walk without listening to anything. That's proven to be one that's been really effective for me. You're getting movement and you're not stimulating yourself with a podcast or music. And it's a great way to turn inward. It's so important to turn inward and check in with ourselves, because otherwise we're just susceptible to all the external noise and opinions and things that people are projecting onto us, and it gets very confusing. So every single day, I think every single one of us needs to pause and turn inward, whatever that might look like. So yeah, for me, I meditate and journal every day, really leaned into those walks without music or podcast. Even if it's just for 5 minutes of my walk, I'll turn off listening to something, and it's almost like a form of meditation. So I really like that one. But I find I get really overwhelmed and feel like I'm less present when I'm just trying to do too much too fast. So like when I'm more focused on doing and less focused on just like being. If I'm just trying to get through my to-do list, I'll find it I often can just get in my head and get too overwhelmed. When I'm in that state of doing and just trying to do too much too fast, that's when I find that it's the hardest to be present and the most overwhelming. So slowing down and tuning inward is a great way to cope with that for sure.
Yeah, I've definitely struggled with trying to bite off too much all at once. And one thing that has helped me with that is making lists and writing out lists, whether it's in a journal or your phone notes app. Because once you write it out, you realize, okay, what are the top 3 things that I need to get done today? And then everything else can trickle down, whether it's in a specific order or just like things I'd love to get done today, but it's not a need. And it really helps you metabolize, okay, it's only 10 things that I need to get done rather than running off just all over the place and feeling overwhelmed and feeling like you have so much to do. And I just get really swept up in that. And then I'm just like, and then I shut down and get nothing done. So I feel like list making has really helped me with that. Do you have any tips on when you feel overwhelmed, when you have a lot to do, what you do to stay organized?
I'm such a to-do list girl too. I literally have mine right here. This is my to-do list.
It's funny, yeah.
Because I like will never not write it on pen and paper too. Sometimes I'll make one in my notes app, but I love like writing out a to-do list and then checking it off. It's just the best thing ever.
Same.
So honestly, very much agree. That's a big strategy of mine too. But then when it comes to the to-do list, it's okay if you don't get to that last item on the list or if you leave a couple things unchecked. Like it doesn't make you less than, or it doesn't mean that you failed that day. Or sometimes I'll get to the end of mine and I'll add more because I'm like, well, I have another hour. What can I do more? But one thing that I really incorporated is allowing myself to rest. Like it's not something I add to the to-do list and check it off. That is something I totally would do. But like when I get to the end of what I need to get done that day, I'm like, okay, great. I've done plenty today. I'm feeling myself getting a bit tired now. So I can allow myself to unwind and start to wind down now and allow myself that rest to recover. Because I find when I add more to the list or try to do more after what I intended to or what I needed to do that day, that's when I'm pushing myself too hard. And when we push ourselves too hard past what we need to be doing or past our capacity, that's when the overwhelm can also kick in. So that's a big tip for sure, is prioritizing rest and making sure your to-do list doesn't get in the way of rest and recovery.
Yeah, that's something I've struggled with, where I would equate my self-worth to how much I could get done in the day or I finished my to-do list. So that's something I had to unteach myself and unlearn from my beliefs. But yeah, definitely allowing yourself to rest. Otherwise, you are going to get burnt out. It's bound to happen if you just are constantly go.
Yeah, and it's a big unlearning because society tells us that, right? It's how much did you accomplish? How productive were you that day? And there's such a reason every single one of us ties our worth to what we accomplish. We're in such a society that promotes success and are you doing enough to prove yourself? And like such a work hard, play hard society that we feel like we can't stop sometimes. So yeah, super important also to remember that we're worthy as we are. We don't need to prove ourselves to anyone. It's like that healthy balance of like, how can we be productive, but also love ourselves enough to give us the rest we need, for sure.
Yeah, wanting to be better, but also knowing we're great just as we are.
Yeah. I also always come back to, I think a big reason is because I'm really into yoga and teach yoga as well. Like pausing and breathing throughout the day is really important too, because do you notice when you get like overwhelmed and stressed, you almost just hold this like tension and pressure in your gut or in your chest, and taking deep breaths is such a great way to start to release that, because we're almost like physically holding on to this tension and overwhelm and stress, and we need to physically release it as well as coming back to those mindfulness practices. So that's another big thing that helps me too. Even just like going to the bathroom in the middle of your workday and just like taking 2 minutes in there to practice deep breathing in the mirror.
Yeah, I was just going to say breathwork is perfect for really anywhere, any place, anytime. Because if you are, let's say, in the middle of a meeting or a crowd and you can't necessarily leave, just taking 2 slower breaths can automatically help you slow down. Or if you're at home and have 20 minutes, you could do some Wim Hof breathing. And for me, I actually recently, I haven't been doing it as much lately, but I was a little more anxious than normal last month. and I started doing Wim Hof breathing. And
What's Wim Hof breathing?
So it's like the one that I did was 11 minutes. And basically he slows down your breathing to where you feel almost like a high after you're done.
Oh, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
Like
actually
you want to
pretty
get
difficult.
to that uncomfortable place with breathing almost. That's like when you get the most benefits, right?
Yes. And it's definitely uncomfortable. It's super difficult. I like to do it laying down because you can feel dizzy.
Right.
But you can do it sitting, laying down, and if you have the time and space to do, let's say, like a 15-minute breathwork session, that's great. Or you could do a guided meditation, anything like that with breathwork.
And you don't even need to carve out 15 minutes. This is funny, but I have a 20-minute commute to work, and I've started doing breathwork on the subway, especially because sometimes in the morning, like I don't always have the 10 minutes to sit down and just do it.
Yeah.
So I started doing it on the subway, which isn't probably like the best place to be doing it or the most mindful scenery. But I tell myself, like, look, if I can meditate and do breathwork on the subway, like that just means I can just tune out extra external noise. But all's that to say, it can be any length of time or in any setting. It doesn't have to be like, okay, this is the 20 minutes of meditation I'm carving out today, especially if you have a tough schedule and it's hard to carve out that time. That's why I even said going to the bathroom for 5 minutes and like doing breath work in the mirror. That's okay too. It's about the effort. It's less about what it looks like.
And I work from home most days, and even doing an 11-minute breathwork session where I'm laying down sometimes feels like a lot to me. And I'm the type of person I never want to force a wellness practice. Sometimes you need what you don't want to do, but I also don't want to force myself to do these practices and then I end up just not doing any of them.
Right.
So just doing things in little short amounts, if that works for you, also really helps. So I totally agree with
I'm
that.
picking and choosing one day, being like, I'm not really in the mood to journal, but I'm going to do 5 or 10 minutes of like meditation or breath work tonight. It's not like you have to do every single thing in order for it to be like a success. It's more about just like doing little things to improve your mindset and to improve your well-being. With that, let's transition to work-life balance and making time for social life in our 20s.
Let's do it. I feel like I'm still figuring that one out sometimes.
Yeah, I'm like, you take it away. Tell us, Nicole, how to do this.
You want to go first?
Shit. No, okay, I'll start. So my biggest thing with this is tuning into your body. It's something I talk about a lot for sure. And it is the most important thing. What you need and how you're feeling that day or week should always trump what you think you, quote, should be doing. I feel like there's all these expectations we're putting onto ourselves that we feel like others are putting onto us, whether it be from social media or from just like what we tell ourselves we should be doing in our 20s. That isn't always aligned with what we need or what we actually want to be doing. So if there's a certain week where you're feeling like maybe you're extra busy with work, maybe you're like feeling a bit drained and needing to spend more time with yourself, don't force the social plans just because you feel like you haven't made enough social plans that week. I used to put so much pressure on making a certain number of plans every week and filling my weekends with social plans because otherwise I would tell myself this narrative that I like wasn't being social enough and that I wasn't being cool in my 20s and I wasn't living my 20s like I should. But there's no shoulds. At least there shouldn't be. Like we're the only one imposing those shoulds on ourselves. So when I started to take that pressure off of, oh, I need to meet this certain metric or else I like failed as a 26-year-old this week, it just felt so much better. And I've started tuning into my body. Like you're allowed to cancel a social plan if you're not up for it that day or week. So that's my biggest piece of advice, tuning into your body, asking, what does my work look like this week? What does my social life look like this week? What is my body and soul asking for this week? What is it like telling myself that I need? And then I take it from there.
Yeah, I would say I do the same thing where I ask myself, do I want to do this? Because I would say maybe a year ago, I would always just say yes to any social event, whether it was like weeks out or that day. Sure, if I wasn't doing anything, why not? And tying it back into I didn't value rest, so I always just wanted to go. But then I ended up doing things where I wasn't even having fun or I was just drinking and it would just drain me the next day. So I really asked myself, do I want to do this? And your gut always knows, your body always knows. And if you're excited about something, then do it. And if I'm not, I just say no, or maybe we can do something else that will make me feel better tomorrow. Because it's also like on Saturday, if you're going out drinking for a late night and you have a bunch of things on Sunday that you want to get done, you don't want to set yourself up for failure either just to be social. So I think just one, listening to my body and setting myself up for success too. So maybe just like going for a walk with a friend that's an hour. So I still feel I did make time for my friend and she knows that I care about her and we checked in, we caught up, but it wasn't 8 hours of my day doing something that will make me feel bad the next day. So I think just being smart with what you do and making your friends feel appreciated and they know you care about them. And I always like to text my friends, like just thinking about you, checking in or giving them a call, because in your 20s, it's really hard to keep up with friendships. I feel like, especially when we have busy lives. So just the little things I feel like if my friends do it to me, makes me feel important. And I think makes my friends feel important too and cared for.
Yeah, 100%. And I love that idea of focusing on who do we want to prioritize spending time with? Because if we have a limited amount of time in a week that our social capacity or our work-life balance allows, we should be really thoughtful about who we want to spend that time with. I think a lot of us feel obligated to hang out with certain people, but ask yourself how you feel after spending time with that person. Are they someone you want to continue to spend your weekends with? Are they doing things that are aligned with your values, or are you just going along for the ride because it's what you've been doing for so long? Any single experience teaches you something about yourself, teaches you something about what works for you and what doesn't work for you. If you've gone to spend time with someone or gone to a certain social setting and you've left multiple times feeling the same way, maybe feeling like a bit drained or feeling like you didn't have that much fun, then switch it up. Like you said, maybe try going for a walk instead of going and drinking with the same friends, or doing something, or maybe spending time with people who might fill your cup a little bit more. It's all kind of trial and error, but if you keep falling into the same social patterns week after week and are still left feeling unfulfilled from that, to me is the clearest signal that it's time to switch it up. And switching it up is good too. You don't want to just do the same thing week in and week out. It keeps life exciting to spend time with new people and do different things, for sure.
Yeah, that's a really good point that you make of who we spend our time with, because especially in our 20s where we are coming out of college, we have our college friends, or maybe we didn't go to college, but we have work friends or just like our childhood friends. And then you go into work. So then you have work friends, but maybe you switch jobs and you don't see them anymore. So it's just like a bunch of different moving factors. For me, I've had so many different friends from different phases of life that some I still talk to and some it just ended up dwindling out because we just went our different paths. So I think it's important to, one, ask yourself that question that you mentioned. Do I feel drained or do I feel excited after leaving? Because with the limited time that we have to hang out with our friends and in our social lives, that's really important that we do feel filled up.
Yeah.
And also don't feel bad if you end up drifting away from people, or if you do start feeling drained, to maybe spend less time with that person, because we're just growing and sometimes we grow different ways because we have different life paths. So
yeah. And every single one of us goes through different phases too, right? We're talking about work-life balance. Like maybe you have a phase where you're struggling at work or you're working really late and you don't really have the capacity to be as social as you used to. It's important to communicate that to the people in your life too. Maybe be like, hey, I've been really stressed at work lately, or work has really been draining me. I'm sorry I haven't been around much. But like this kind of social plan, like a walk on the weekend would work for me. Or if you want to come over for a late night glass of wine, it's all I can swing right now. I think communicating what you need to the people that matter to you is also really important, because sometimes if a friend becomes distant from me, but they don't really communicate what's going on in their end, I can like take it personally and start to think I did something wrong. So I found communication is so key too. When you're trying to ride out that balance, communicate where you're at so they can be aware of what you might need and that you might not be able to give as much to that friendship right now.
I totally agree with that. And I like to keep my circle small because of that, because I feel like I go through different phases in life where sometimes I'm super busy, or maybe sometimes I'm just in a reflective state. In the winter, I feel like I don't go out as much and I'm literally just not on my phone. So it's not even like I'm texting other people and not texting them. Like last winter, I just was reading a lot. I wasn't on my phone a lot. And
Wow, you went all winter without going on your phone.
Yeah, like I threw out my phone all winter. But like just at night, like when I would text my friends, I wouldn't be on my phone as much. And then I realized that if I was on the other end, I'd be like, does Nicole hate me? Or just like maybe overthink that. So I like keeping my circles small because of that, because I can't communicate with 50 people. I don't know how people have 50 friends. Like,
No.
truly, I don't know how they do it.
Well, it's really interesting because there are certain people in my life who I feel like have 50 friends. And I'm like, wow, they're like the most social person I know. But then they'll say stuff to me at times like, yeah, it looks like I have a lot of friends. But when you spread yourself so thin across so many friends, I feel like the quality or the depth of the friendships might take a toll because
Yeah.
sure, you have a lot of different people in your life, but you're spreading yourself thin across all of those people. Whereas I couldn't agree more. I'm so on your page. I feel like I can count on one hand the people that I consider like best friends. And I like that. And it's not like a friend group either. I don't really like a friend group situation because you almost feel like you're not an individual. You're just like a part of that group. But also to each their own. I've just learned that's just not for me because I also get a bit introverted and I feel like I have my independence more when I'm not tied to this like social group where I feel like I have to do whatever the social group does. But yeah, I think every single person has different social cravings and desires. And some people love having a ton of different friends, love having the friend group. Others like to have less. And we learn what we need and what fills our cup just through trial and error. So you have to lean into that and continue to adapt and mold to that. Yes, I think an important thing to note to wrap that up is it is important to communicate to your friends what you need and also just to fill them in what you might be going through and also vice versa, because I think the more you communicate, the deeper the friendship can be, even if you don't see that person for a couple months. Reaching out and communicating can never hurt.
Yeah, and sometimes a friendship can look like calling each other once a month, just keeping the connection there. And people move, like there's just so many moving factors. And I think just if someone makes you feel good about yourself and they've been a good friend to you and you want to keep them in your life, just make that effort as best as you can. And over communicating is the best way to go for sure.
Also, friendships just are meant to change and evolve in our 20s. When a friendship kind of fizzles, it doesn't have to be such a negative thing, or we don't have to take it so personally. Like you mentioned, okay, coworkers, let's say you change jobs. Probably normal that you might keep up with just one of the coworker friends and then the rest maybe not because they were a seasonal friend while you were at that job. Or maybe like you had friends when you were in a certain relationship, you were hanging out a lot with your boyfriend's friends or girlfriend's friends or whatever. And then the relationship ends. Yeah, probably some of those friendships are going to end. And that's okay to go through different phases with people. Like maybe you move cities, maybe you're just like growing in and out of each other. But I think that's also why it's constantly important to tune back into ourselves, check back into ourselves, back to that first mindfulness tip, because our body's constantly signaling to us what we need and what's serving us and what isn't serving us. So we can constantly assess the relationships in our lives.
100%.
So you mentioned in the evenings you don't like to go on your phone. That feels like a good segue into how to set ourselves up for success in the evenings and in the mornings.
Let's do it. So I actually recently perfected this little morning routine of mine. And I actually would say morning rituals because I'm not really a routine person. Like I said before, if I want to do something, I'm going to do it. But a routine to me sounds super rigid, super disciplined, and I don't like to live my life like that. I like go with the flow and check in. But
also a ritual sounds just like a happier thing. I don't know. I just love
like I
that
want
word.
to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Routine, I'm like, eh.
No, I agree. I love that. I'm going to use that.
Yeah. So, okay, should we start off with nighttime rituals that we both enjoy?
Well, let's hear your morning ritual and then we'll go to evenings because now I'm intrigued.
All right, okay. So my morning ritual, so one thing that I always was just constantly doing, messing up my day, was waking up too late. And I knew deep down, I was like, I want to wake up earlier, but I'm just not a morning person. And I would identify myself as not a morning person. So I needed to break that block that I had about myself, which I ended up doing. And how I did that was, so I would wake up at 8:30ish and I have to start work at 9. So I would work remote. I'd basically get up and then work.
Yeah.
That was not serving me at all because one, could not be mindful. Two, I like to move my body, whether it's a walk or going to the gym, and that gave me no time to move my body before work. And it just was not serving me. I would feel brain fog. I would feel a crash at 2 p.m. So it's okay, I got to change this up. So for a week, I just started waking up at 6:30, but then snoozing my alarm until 7 and then getting up at 7 because my problem was I couldn't just set an alarm and get up. I don't know.
Like, you have a 30-minute buffer. That's perfect.
Yes. So whatever works for you, maybe try that if you also think you're not a morning person.
Or
But I
there's the people
have
who set like an alarm every 5 minutes. If you look at their alarm, it's like 6:30, 6:35, 6:40, 6:45.
So that's funny that you say that because my boyfriend, we live together, and he's like, I'm going to kill you because I would do an alarm like every 10 minutes. And he's like up at 7. He was like, bro. But yeah, it's really funny. But now we got it down pat. We don't have alarms every 10 minutes. But what I'll do is I have the Hatch alarm clock, but you don't necessarily need that. You could just maybe set an alarm to where it's a little bit soothing or a little bit more soothing than the alarm clock that the Apple
Yeah.
iPhone has. It's
I have
like
this app. It's
blaring and
called just
loud.
like alarm clock, and it's like a slow incremental bell.
Ooh, okay, yeah. The Hatch alarm clock has sound bowls, so it's really relaxing and
Oh
I
yeah,
really
the
love
Hatch
it.
looks great.
Yeah, it's really good.
Maybe they'll sponsor this episode.
Yeah.
Free hatches for everyone.
Yeah. So I'll wake up at 6:30 and then my boyfriend and I will do a morning meditation. So I'll just go on my phone. I have the app Insight Timer and it's free or you can purchase to get more, but I just use the free version and pick a new meditation. And I normally do one between 5 to 10 minutes. So nothing crazy. We're not sitting in a 30-minute meditation, but just
Yeah.
something to check in with how I'm feeling and get ready for the day ahead. And what I realized is when I would first wake up, I sometimes would think about, oh, I have to do X, Y, and Z, and then immediate anxiety and immediate stress, and I just would go straight onto my phone. So this has really helped me tune into just, I'm grateful to be alive and tuning into how I feel rather than even thinking about what is coming.
Right. I love that. I love A, that it's the first thing you do, but B, that you guys do it together. Because I just think also, not only do you hold each other accountable, but what a great way to connect. I also
we're doing
immediately like
it.
your boyfriend because very few guys I feel like would be into meditating. So that's
Yeah, he's really open to it and he likes it too. But
That's good.
we do it just laying in bed too. Like we're not getting up, like we're just wake up, do it.
Again, no
And
right or
then-
wrong. You can do it laying down or sitting up or like whatever.
Yeah. And then I get ready, wash my face, brush my teeth, and move my body in some way. So sometimes that looks like a walk. If it's nice outside, I like to walk on the beach boardwalk, or sometimes I'll go to the gym. It's really, again, I'm checking in with myself. I'm not someone with a rigid workout routine where I'm like, okay, today's leg day, we're getting it done. I played a college sport, did that. I'm over that phase of my life. Maybe I'll enter that again, but I love just, okay, what do I want to do today? Maybe I'll do a Pilates workout, or like on my phone, I have the Form app, or a yoga class or whatever. So I'm super flexible with my rituals. But yeah, I would say first, waking up early, second, meditating, 3, getting ready, throwing on those workout clothes, and then 4, moving my body. And that sets me up for success in the morning.
Yeah, you're incorporating mindfulness and movement. And I think those are like 2 key ingredients to set yourself up for the day for sure.
Yeah. And naturally you feel happier and more awake to take on the day. So
yeah, I love that you said, going back to what you said about how you feel when you go straight into meditating, it automatically just brings you into a state of gratitude rather than anxiety. So the first thing I do when I wake up, I don't do my meditation right away, but I've practiced for a while now. I don't really remember when I started, but I like heard it from some brain doctor or something a while ago. And it's just always stuck with me to literally the second when I open my eyes to say either in your head or out loud. I literally will say it out loud. I just find it more effective, but some people might find that weird. But I live alone, so no one knows. Now everyone knows. But I literally say, today is going to be a great day. Like today is such a blessing. And to just say, put it out into the universe that like, it is a good day. Like, wow, I am grateful to be alive. And to just say that a couple times in my head, because when you're tired, we immediately want to fall down to those negative thoughts of anxiety, that protection state within us. Like, oh, what do I have to worry about the second I wake up? But instead, we need to start to train our minds the second we wake up to say, no, today's a great day. Today has so much potential and room for all these wonderful things to happen. So that's the first thing I say. It's not like a full-on meditation, but I literally just put those affirmations out to the universe. And it honestly does immediately put me in a better headspace. You know, I'm still a little groggy and tired because I haven't done the rest of my rituals yet, but try that tip. I'm curious if it like is helpful for anyone, because the first thing we do when we wake up, whether it be meditating or saying affirmations, it's going to start to set us up with that first step. Something I don't do for the first hour, maybe 2 hours of the day is go on my phone. And sure, I go turn off my alarm. I'm more saying I don't like go start texting and I don't open social media. I don't do any of those things because our brains are most susceptible in the mornings and in the evenings when we're tired to anything. So when we go on our phones, we're opening ourselves up to whatever comes, whatever text we received, whatever's on our social media feed. And it could be really anxiety inducing. But if we're off of our phone, we can be very intentional with what we consume and digest in the morning because we're not susceptible to just like all of this potential that might be on our screen that might stress us out. So definitely avoid being on the phone, both in mornings and evenings. And then from there, I do a 10-minute meditation every morning. I always work out in the morning, whether that's yoga or going to my gym or teaching yoga some mornings. Then I get ready and I go to work and I do those silly breath exercises on the subway. I don't know. I'm just like, it can't hurt. But what about evenings? What's your evening ritual look like?
Evening ritual. Also, before that, I can't believe I forgot to say, of course, no phone for the first 30 minutes to an hour. Jay Shetty actually said this, but he was like, the equivalent of going onto Instagram. So we probably see 20 to 40 different people for scrolling on Instagram for 10 minutes. He's like, going on Instagram for 10 minutes is the equivalent of allowing 40 people to come into your bedroom first thing in the morning. Do you know how overwhelming that is?
I know. Yeah. You're just letting so much into your head. Whereas if you don't go on your phone, you're allowing yourself to be intentional with what you consume for sure.
Yeah. And you're still in your subconscious. Like you're just waking up. So
yeah.
Definitely
I'm almost like it doesn't even matter
minutes.
what the ritual is. Just don't go on your phone. Do whatever ritual works for you. Just avoid that.
Yeah. Maybe it's just getting ready, washing your face, and then go make a coffee for 20 minutes. But just not going on your phone.
Don't drink coffee for 2 hours either.
Oh, is there a reason for that?
Yeah, apparently, I don't remember all the science behind it, but basically it's better to drink. I started drinking just like room temp water with lemon. Apparently it's like good for hormones. And I'll drink electrolytes in the morning, especially because I work out in the morning. I don't actually drink coffee till I get to the office because apparently like the first hour or two.
It's not good for your hormones either because it'll spike your cortisol.
And I don't want to just make up a reason because I forget the science behind it, but I have heard it's good to wait a couple hours before, or at least 1 hour before drinking the first cup of coffee, or make sure you drink water first, and I'll end it there. But I really enjoy that practice as well. So something else to try.
You're definitely right. I actually interviewed a hormone coach who was like, do not drink coffee on an empty stomach. But
I do sometimes drink it on an empty stomach though, which is bad. I'm trying to switch that up.
Yeah. I'm really trying to get better.
Okay.
No, we're not perfect. Close,
we're not perfect. We're just really close to being perfect. Okay, night routines. Go.
Night routines. Okay. So it really depends on what my day is like. Obviously, if I'm going into the office, my night routine starts a little bit later. But I like to start winding down at least 9 p.m. And by winding down, that looks like putting the phone down. Sometimes I'll watch TV, but I like to read. I'll take a warm shower, sometimes a warm bath, and really just, I try to focus on consuming as least as I can.
Yeah.
Because my brain does not shut off. If I'm on my phone, I might as well be working out. Like I just can't fall asleep if I'm on my phone until 9 p.m. Like I won't fall asleep until like 11.
Yeah.
So really just consuming less, turning the lights down, lighting a candle. This is a perfect night routine, obviously. Like this does not happen every single day.
You're perfect, Nicole. We get it.
Yeah. But let's go to rituals actually, because a routine, like I said, doesn't always happen. So rituals is, So rituals is putting the phone down at 9 p.m. I would say I like making a tea, and that just calms me, soothes my gut, and just like a little nice treat at the end of the day. I also like some dark chocolate, but I try not to eat a sweet treat every single day, but I do. And then I would say I love to read.
Love that.
Whether it's 5 minutes, 10 minutes, I feel like it really helps me slow down. And I actually fall asleep way faster if I read rather than watching television. So,
agreed. Yeah. Mine's honestly very similar. I get home from work and I try to do any social media or podcast posting during the day because the second I get home from work, I like to not be on my phone. So literally from 6:30 on, I like to have my phone away. It's not like I'm going to bed at 6:30 or like winding down starting at 6:30. I like to just be off of it at night. I don't know. It's just something that's really served me and I've enjoyed it. So I'll shower and then I sit on my couch and journal before starting to cook dinner. And then I cook dinner and after dinner, it depends on my timing. Like sometimes I'll put on a show for 30 minutes, but similar to you, I'll start to wind down at 9, and that means like electronics away, and I read in bed. And I so agree. It's such a better way to wind down rather than looking at a screen. For the longest time, like all through college, I would watch Netflix until the second I fell asleep. And definitely the last couple years, I've shifted to reading right before bed, and it's definitely been a game changer. And I take magnesium, and that's about it. But yeah, I just think any little ritual that serves your evenings or mornings that make you feel just a little bit better off. I think there's no right or wrong. I feel like the thing that ties them all together that they all have in common is it is tuning back into yourself. Like all of these rituals are ways to slow down and tune inward, which is literally how we started the episode. Full circle.
Yeah, and it's really just testing what makes you feel the most you and what makes you feel the best and just running with that. And I think in different phases of life, they're going to change. Sometimes I like journaling and then I'm like, I don't want to journal.
Yeah.
So I
and
don't.
not beating ourselves up for that. Some days I'm like, oh, I haven't journaled yet though. And it's like 9:30. And I'm like, okay, I'm skipping it today. It's not supposed to be a stressful thing. And that's another big thing to drill in. If you have a really early morning one morning and you can't do your meditation or your whatever else we talked about doing in the morning, if you can't squeeze it in one morning because you have to get up extra early, or maybe you're like, went out the night before and you need that little extra sleep, don't beat yourself up. It's okay if it's not every single day.
Yeah. Missing one day is totally fine. I'm just all about you want to be proactive about it. You don't want to hit a rock bottom and then be like, okay, where do I start? So just being proactive, doing the things that you don't necessarily are dying to do, but know that help you and make you feel good. Just keep doing them.
Totally.
As much
and
as
if you are starting, it's focusing on incorporating one thing at a time. I think it can get overwhelming to try to do all these different things at once, you know?
For sure. Yeah.
I think those are all great. Thanks, Nicole.
Thanks, Camille.
All right. Bye, everyone. See you soon.
Bye, everyone.